The American dream is hard to describe. For some, it's all about financial success and owning a home. For others, it represents freedom, educational opportunities, or the pursuit of happiness. However you define it, one thing is clear. Achieving the American dream comes with a hefty price tag. A new report from Investopedia projects the American dream now costs a staggering $4.4 million. Is this even attainable? And how can we reach it? Here to weigh in is Caleb Silver, Investopedia editor-in-chief. Caleb, $4.4 million. How did you come up with this number, and how does it compare to last year? And that was the first year of the report.
Yeah, $4.4 million sounds like a lot because it is a lot, but we're talking about a lifetime of earnings, right? 25 to 65. How much money you would need to have the things that we want, not necessarily need. So we were looking at what people were actually searching for on our site. We always do this. And last year, the American dream kept popping up. And it wasn't like, what is it? But could I ever attain it? And given the price of everything, especially housing, especially education, and rising costs for healthcare, more and more people felt disassociated with it. So we put this number on it. But these are the wants. We're talking about having enough for retirement, right? Having enough to pay for a wedding, raising a couple kids, sending them to a public university. So 4.4 million over that lifetime. Yes, a big number. Last year, a little bit closer to 3.5 million. But we looked at what people actually want, not the essentials like housing, right? You got to feed yourself and you need healthcare, but all these other things, having a pet, paying for a funeral, buying a few new cars over the course of a lifetime, this adds up.
So how are we seeing the high cost of this American dream change how people are actively living their lives? For example, renting versus buying a home, even the number of kids you have. How do you see these shifts sort of play out?
Right, and the funny thing is, this number is what we thought for a household, right? 3.3 people, but people make choices about their lives. Some people don't want kids, some people don't want pets, some people don't have a used car. But if you think about the things that we might want, reasonable expectations, that's where you come up with this number. So people are coming up with creative ways of putting this together. But one thing is absolutely certain. If you work for a lifetime, 40 years or so, at the median income, you're going to wind up with something like $2.8–3 million. You're going to have a gap between how much you make and how much you might need if you need money for retirement. How do you fill that gap? You have to fill that gap by investing, by owning assets. You have to have your money working for you while you're over here working and getting paid. Your money's got to be working in the background.
And how does this change depending on demographics when we talk about the racial wealth gap or even the gender pay gap as well?
Great question, because this is a big number for anybody, but when you look at the median income, that could apply to anybody. But we know people make different choices depending on the communities that they live in. People make different life choices. Again, some people might not want to have kids. Some people might have a dual income family. Having a dual income family is a great way to achieving this number and beyond. If you have two people working, even at the median income, you'll wind up with something like $5+ million over that course of a lifetime. You might be in a pretty good position to make these choices that you might want to have. Taking an annual vacation, right? Or having a pet, having a few pets over the course of a lifetime, sending kids to college. But if you look at what different generations are doing and different racial groups, they're making different choices so that they can live their American dream, whatever that is.
You mentioned investing in the stock market. Are there other things that people can do to try and reach that number and make it a more attainable goal?
Yeah, and the thing is, it's your number, so you have to come up with whatever your number is. And the most important thing we talk about, especially in financial planning, is what does it cost to be you, and what does it cost to be the you want to be? Once you get to that number, work your way backwards. So if you work your way backwards, maybe that number for you is $2 million. Maybe it's $6 million. It depends on what you want ultimately. So working your way backwards from that and saying, if I make X amount and I get a raise of 3% a year for this long, but I invest and my money is compounding, that is a way for me to achieve these goals. And that's what planning is all about. But also you have to have asset ownership in this country. That's just the way it is in this American form of capitalism that we've come up with. You have to be invested and you have to have asset ownership, whether that's a home or other assets that are going to appreciate over time. You have to be in there, and you have to be in there early. The earlier you start, the better off you are. That number doesn't seem so intimidating if you start investing and saving when you're 25 versus 45.
And is there a fiscal responsibility to try and drive down the high cost of living? It was just something, as I was reading this report, especially with the election upcoming, how something like this could really play into the politics of it all.
We're already hearing it all across the campaign trail. You either hear from the Trump administration, from the Trump campaign, I should say, that the American dream is dead, it's not attainable, or you hear from the Harris campaign that we're going to try to restore it. We're going to do whatever we can, and that means potential tax breaks for home ownership, new home owners, trying to get people into the housing housing market, because we know that is a way to see your assets appreciate over time. But ultimately, you're the CEO of your own life. Your dream is your dream. You have to come up with that numbers. I wouldn't wait around for the government to solve that problem, because ultimately it's about you and how much you can invest over time and how much it costs to be the you want to be.
All right, love it. The American dream. Hopefully alive and well for most Americans, but certainly have to take a lot of steps to get there.
That's right. It's our dream.
It's our dream. It's our dream. Thank you so much, Caleb Silver, Investopedia Editor-in-Chief. Appreciate it.